There was recently a movie called Meenakshi Someshwar or Sundareshwar. I forget what's the name.
Yes, Sudaresh.
There was a movie, and it got very bad reviews, but it ended up one of Netflix's top performers. Like in terms of things. So I asked people why that might have been, and they said, no, it was a very feel good show. It just was nice. There was nothing like it was easy to watch. And I think now, because of the world and the pandemic and all, people are turning towards a lot of easy to watch shows as well.
So here we go. I'm shooting off the first question. What is the job of a film reviewer or a film critic?
I think I distinguish between the two words. I think a film reviewer is somebody who recommends that you go, who treats the film like a product. And I don't mean this like a negative way, like an Amazon review where you buy an AC or a fridge and you see reviews where people say, this is good, this is not good, photography is good, acting is not good, and then says you can go and watch it or not. And I think a film critic is basically somebody who analyzes a film, who basically that becomes a more personal effort, and then kind of gives an idea about the film by talking about the various aspects of the film. It is a more detailed kind of presentation, and obviously the film reviewers get are more popular than film critics. But yeah, one I think chooses to be one or the other. Yeah.
When we speak about film criticism or film reviews, since you distinguished, differentiated the two, what is it that a person should have to turn a film reviewer or a film critic? What kind of qualifications, what kind of education, what kind of training should a person have to become, let's say, a video reviewer? Because today that is free and one can start at any point of time, anywhere. So, but before that, what are the various ingredients the person should have?
See, I think the most important thing is the content itself, because they are not coming to see you; they're coming to see what you have to say. So I think the content comes from a genuine interest in cinema, a genuine empathy to enter into different worlds, whether you relate to it directly or not, and I think also an understanding of the film form, because the like for instance, I would always say that just because a film has good intentions, or if a film subject is good, it doesn't mean it's a good film. It has to be made in a form that is cinematic, in a film language, to kind of thing. Otherwise, I can read the same article in a newspaper. Why should I watch a film, right? So I think those are the things that they come for, people come for. But today we find different kinds of film reviewers, where some reviewers make a name for themselves by mocking films. Some reviewers make a name for themselves by reviewing trailers. So the YouTube world has opened up an entire, kind of dimension of people, and people can go and watch whatever that they want to watch. The freedom is in their hands.
When you talk about video reviews, don't you think when the apps are there, perhaps the general seriousness in the entire society is lesser today, than, let's say, 20 years back, when people used to read and take things seriously. Today, with the advent of things like WhatsApp and Twitter, that seriousness is gone, and therefore, and the same is reflected in the kind of reviews that you get on screen today. People, instead of making a serious comment on the movie, they are more into making takeoffs and jokes out of these movies. You know, is that the general mood of the society, which is reflected in these reviews also?
Yeah, I think so. Because see, if you remember, one of the world's most famous reviewers is Pauline Kael. She used to write for the New Yorker magazine from the mid '60s to the mid '80s, and there are times her reviews have gone up to 5,000, 6,000 words. and this was actually printed on a
Mhm.
printed page because
Mhm.
that was affordable then. Today, the same New Yorker magazine has 800 like word reviews or whatever it is. That's because that thing has shrunk. Now, how do you when that is happening in the West? It is obviously happening everywhere, where people are watching more than reading more. Uh, Even if you ask publishers, what they will tell you is the number one seller is not fiction or anything like that. It is self-help books. Like people buy things like how to lose weight, how to make money, how to be more peaceful, how to all those self-help books. How to make friends, how to be more confident, all those kinds of books, rather than fiction or whatever it is. So I think that's also indicative of a change where earlier fiction, a lot of people used to buy fiction in all kinds of languages. Now you find that has changed, and I think it is our this is the video era. There is no denying that this is an era where people watch the news rather than read the newspaper, because we are 24-hour news. By the time a newspaper comes the next morning, that news has already been covered everywhere, and updates have been happening on Twitter, whereas newspapers have to be the end of there's a cutoff time before has to go to print, right? So you're
Yeah.
at least 7 to 8 hours behind the actual news. By the time it comes the next morning, they that news is so old that people don't read newspapers anymore. At least the people who are on social media apps. It is the older generation that still reads the newspaper to get an idea of what is happening in the world. So things change. I think it's inevitable that at one point. Uh, Raj Kapoor made Mera Naam, which was 4 hours long, and it was a big flop. But at least he had the imagination and the courage to make a movie that long. Today, people will hesitate because you can't fit in number of shows. They'll immediately say we need 4 shows, so movie has to be 2 hours 10 minutes or something like that. So a lot of economics has come into the picture that has begun to dictate how things are done, and that is the same in movies as well as in OTT, where you have all these shows that for example, that there was recently a movie called Meenakshi Someshwar or Sundareshwar. I forget what's the name.
Yes, Sudarshan.
uh, there was a movie, and it got very bad reviews, but it ended up one of Netflix's top performers. In terms of things. So I asked people why that might have been, and they said, no, it was a very feel good show. It just was nice. There was nothing, like, it was easy to watch. And I think now, because of the world and the pandemic and all, people are turning towards a lot of easy to watch shows as well. They don't want to watch too much of grim and depressing stuff because our lives have become very grim and depressing. So unless you're really into cinema, unless you really like cinema as a medium, uh, you want to watch lighter stuff to entertain yourself. Whereas earlier, at least they used to go to the odd serious movie to kind of see what they like the director or whatever it is. Now that's not happening as much. So yeah, that's the way it is. And you would have thought that OTTs would have been a good way to bridge this gap, because like the serious movies would have been bought up by OTTs or whatever. But you find that even OTTs are going after famous names and big movies and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I think we're in the middle of a big change that we're going to realize only about 5 6 years later what the actual end result is.